Hello and welcome to the Results with Ronnie podcast series. I am Ronnie Walker, your master coach of exceptional relationships and sex. We're on episode 25, going into a new season of the Results with Ronnie podcast. And this is going to be an interesting one. And I say that because this is something that's really not discussed so much as in the reverse. But before I get into that, I want to give a shout out and a special thanks to the sponsor of this podcast, the Balance with Diana J show that is on Instagram. She is on Facebook and YouTube. When I tell you she has bring forth some real great content, conversations that many people over the years have questioned, and really for the most part, you will find a lot of times it's not covered. And she's putting it out there and making sure that these questions are answered, things are discussed. And I'd really invite you, strongly suggest that you go into YouTube and look for Balance with Diana J and really take a time to first subscribe, hit the notification, as well as take a listen and reach out to her, because she's always open to new guests, new subjects. But the subject she has thus far has been a roaring success. And again, I thank you, and especially shout out to you, Diana, for sponsoring today's show. So what is today's show about? Well, remember I said it's not discussed that often, at least in this space. You may see it in a magazine here or there, but for the most part, you'll find it asked or spoken of on the other side. And the subject is, what do men want? What do they want? We often hear what women want. And based on what you read and what you hear, you'll get a myriad of answers. Some feel that they are correct. Some feel that they're not. Some may like to hear what women want. Some could care less. I think it's important in the world of relationships that we know what women want, but more specifically, the woman that you are looking to become involved with. That's very, very important. On the other end, ladies, I'm going to share with you of many years of talking to men all over the world. And really, when I took the time to focus on this, I reached out to over 200 men. And trust me, the phone calls were long. Long, yet very informative. And so, although this may not be what some believe is a complete list, I think it covers a fair range of things for women to talk about, to consider, to ask themselves, as well as ask the men in their lives, be their siblings, husband, friends, other extended family that are male. I truly believe this is something that every woman should make it a part of knowing what the man that they want to spend time with wants. Yet, there are many women that are simply confused. And to their credit, I can understand that. Yet we hear stories of how men are just simple, they're easy, and in an underlining space, yes. They want good food, they want good sex, and they want time alone, they want time with their boys. But I'll be honest with you, as a man who spends enough time with men growing up, as well as the men I spend time with socially, in the world of business, you will still find that there are nuances to men that is not discussed enough. And I hope through this podcast I can shed some light on some of that. Because if there's one thing I hear from men, which is pretty much a common theme, is that they are not heard. Because the time is always geared toward the women. So, let me run down a list of things of the men that I spoke to and what they want. Some of this comes from things that I've read. things that I've watched. So I really took my notes. I took time. Some things I'll expound on. Others, it's pretty self-explanatory. But if there's a question you may have that you felt that I didn't answer or something I didn't cover in detail, feel free to reach out to me at Ronnie at resultswithronnie.com. That's Ronnie at resultswithronnie.com. And feel free. You'll see me on Instagram, official Ronnie Walker. You also see me on Facebook at Ronnie Walker. Feel free to reach out. I mean, again, this is something that I created to create the dialogue, because I truly believe in order to have an exceptional, which includes a healthy relationship, you want to make sure that both parties understand what each other's looking for. So if this is something that doesn't pertain to you in the broader sense, in the space of the men that you're spending time with or you hope to spend time with, these are things for you to cover and discuss. Now, this list is not in any specific order. These are things I've written down in the conversations that I've had. And again, this is not for you to convince you. This is just something for you to take in, listen to. And again, if you have a question, reach out. So let's start with one. Now, also, let me say, even before I get into that, the men that I've spoken to are men that are looking for long-term relationships, marriage. Because, again, you're spending the rest of your life with this individual. So for those who are looking for some sort of fling or hit it and quit it, well, this list for the most part really won't pertain to them. Or it won't pertain to you. You could care less, they could care less, because it's only there for the moment. You want to find some things that you have in common, but for the most part, you may not care about one's character or whether they have a lot of money or not. This list are specifically for men who are looking to build long-term relationships with a woman. So what do men want? Well, one, they want security. So what does that mean? They want security in terms of financing. They really want to be able to know that they can provide for the women that they're spending their life with. A lot of them really believe that they're not a full-grown man until they're in a position financially to take care of the woman and the children that may or may not be a part of the household. They want the household to run smoothly and not have money be an issue, especially when you take into consideration that divorces, based on which study you read, happen because of a lack of finances. Some studies you read it's the number one answer or reason, others it's number two. But men really want to make sure that the finances are in order. Some men want security in a spiritual sense. They want a woman who is secure in her spirituality, or just a woman who believes in God, a higher being. Now, she doesn't have to be a prophetess or someone who is, I guess, higher up in the chain of organized religion, but they do want a woman who is believing in a higher being and that she is secure in that and wants to grow as well with him. Men want security in the intimate space. They want to know for sure that they are the one that you're bringing those needs, desires, and wants to. And that no other person is invading on that space. They want security in that space. And that you've taken the time to know what his needs are, the way he's going to take the time to know what your needs are. So there's a security, as they communicated in the intimate space in the relationship. Because to them, this is what makes the relationship itself exceptional. So the intimate as well as the sexual. Men also want to be able to build a legacy. And they want a woman who has no problem of going along in their journey with them. So the legacy being financial, the legacy being if they're looking to have children and carrying forth the name, the traditions. And as the saying goes, behind every great man, you'll find a great woman who plays a part in carrying forth that legacy. Men also want to be supported. Now, this word is something that many different men and women will have different meanings. The definitions are different if you ask them what support means. So in this space, ladies, when you have a man who communicates to you about he wants to be supported, your question, if he hasn't expressed it already, after he states that, is what does support for him look like? That's important. Because everyone has a different space that they wish to be supported. Be it a business, career, maybe decisions in their life. That's important. They want a woman who's going to support them. Not to be a crutch, not to take care of them, but just know that if there's a space that they're now going to go down or flow with, they want to know that you, as a woman, is supporting them. Now, if you don't agree, that's a whole different conversation, because even then, when you don't agree with what he's doing, many women do support. And this is what they're looking. They're not looking for someone to totally agree. They understand that sometimes a situation presents itself that you don't agree with the direction he's going. We'll communicate that, but support him nonetheless. Unless, of course, there's a situation where it may bring some harm to the family, or to him, or to her. But again, communicate this. And in the end, make sure that it's communicated of what support looks like for him. Another thing that men want to seek help without being stigmatized. And this is important because I love what's going on as of late, where there are more resources for men, specifically black men, to seek the help that they need, health-wise, mentally, and physically. Yet, and unfortunately, there are some women who still support, consciously, unconsciously, they put forth this energy that the men are broken or something's wrong with them that can't be fixed if they're seeking help, which is one of the main reasons men avoid seeking the help. They don't want to appear weak to their woman. But if there's a time in their life that they feel they need to address some things, they want to do so without being given some side eye or some sort of asterisk in the conversations that you're having with him. Men also want structure. And I truly believe the best way to achieve this is to have the conversation of what structure looks like for him and what structure looks like for the woman. But since we're talking about the men, we're going to stay here in this space. The structure of the home. And what are the roles of each person? And come to a mutual agreement with that. But he wants structure. A man truly craves structure and making sure that to the best of his ability and the ability of the woman that he's spending his time with is creating a stable, solid home. Another thing that men want to be respected. Now, it's usually at this space where women will go on and on about how they are being respected and how many women are riding with them all the way. Yet, there are other men who feel that the energy is coming their way, and this could be mainly through the venues of social media and media in general, that they're not being respected. So instead of dismissing his feelings, find out what that means to him. What has to happen in order for him to feel respected? Men also want femininity. There is nothing that a man craves more than a woman who is secure in her femininity. A woman who looks at femininity as a strength and not as a weakness. Even if the woman he's attracted to has a very strong personality. Some would use the term alpha or a high-performance woman. There still has to be a balance when she's in the workforce and the world, because we do understand, these men do understand the challenges women, and again, particularly black women, have to deal with in the world outside that home. But when you're home, he's not the enemy. He wants to feel wanted. He wants to feel needed. And nothing does that better than a woman who's solid in her femininity. Men also want honesty. That goes without saying. Or do I really need to go deeper into this? They want a woman who's honest. They don't want to wait till after the wedding or 6 years down the road to find out something that may have changed its course in the relationship. So be honest, ladies. Men also want to enjoy the time with fellas and sports. Even in a relationship, a man and a woman are still individuals. See, in the space of marriage, I don't coach the marriage. I coach the individuals in the marriage. And they together communicate what they want to do with the marriage. But if there's one thing so many men expressed was time with the fellas, the male bonding. And ladies, you understand that. You want girlfriend times, and if it's going out for happy hour or just spa time or whatever it is, men need that same outlet. Trust me, it's worth it. And they want to make sure that they get the relationship to a place that if he's out with the fellas, he's out with the fellas. If he wants to watch the game at home, let him watch the game. If there are things that you would like him to do, or you hoped he would do, then make the time before that to express that and sit down and come to a mutual agreement. But during the game, ladies listening to that, from past relationships, you know what I'm talking about. He spent $500 million on monthly subscriptions to all the sports channels on cable. So he's saying hockey, baseball, football, hell, lacrosse, you name it. He wants to enjoy his sports. And he wants times with the fellas. Men also want the space to disagree without having his sexuality questioned or consider it an argument. Yes, ladies, there are times, and I can speak to this personally, where just a simple disagreement is considered an argument. Why are you arguing about it? I'm not arguing. I just have a different point of view. Or if he disagrees with something that she's expressing, and sometimes we know how a slight disagreement can turn into something fiery, now his sexuality is questioned. Or if he expresses a thought, allow him that space to do that. That's very, very important without giving attitude or questioning his motive. And don't just run across the board, accuse him of having an argument or arguing about something, or that he's soft. Men are tired. Men are tired. Men are tired of hearing this and having to deal with this. Food for thought. What else do men want? Men want a woman that has done the work on herself, because he has. So what do I mean by that? Well, there are women who are divorcees. So be it 1, 2, 3, 5 years since the divorce, you'd be surprised at a number of women that are still bitter about it. They still, when thinking about it, and the time and the place they were when she decided to make it clear she no longer wanted to be in this relationship, she may still harbor those feelings. But the relationship's long gone. And this is where I strongly suggest therapy and coaching. It's so needed. I think after a breakup, especially when you've invested time into this person, we're talking years, do the work. Put in the time. Invest in yourself. See someone so that you can be better prepared for the next person that's going to love you, and you are going to love her. Or he's going to love you. This is important. I'm quick to tell a man after a breakup, go speak to somebody. Nasty divorce, nasty breakup. Don't take revenge. Just go seek someone. Not your brothers or other family members or your homeboys. No, speak to a professional. Get some coaching. You can't erase what has happened, but how you process this moving forward is important. And many men and women chase men away because they realize that they haven't healed from the past relationship. So men want women that have done the work on themselves. Retail therapy is not therapy. Venting on social media doesn't serve its purpose. Speak to someone, grow. Again, make yourself irreplaceable once you've done the work. And the conversation will bear that out. Far too many men have voiced the lack of the great number of women that are still holding on to things that's never going to happen again. They don't want to invest any more time and their emotions into it because they feel that you're going to end it for whatever reason. Do some work and invest in yourself, ladies. Men also want women that believe in interdependence. So it's not you against him. You're working as a team, especially if you're a high-performance woman. You want to present yourself in a space that of servant leadership. And there's times where certain decisions can be made and you're more than competent and you will address it. And yet there's still others that won't. They're entitled, they're privileged, whatever the reason. They want to be independent. And that's fine, but when you're putting another person in your life, there are some things that do change. And it's not just you against him, it's you're both in this together. And you achieve this through knowing what interdependence is. Men also want women to stop with all the broad strokes of men. If you've had a bad relationship once, twice, 3 times, well then, and they didn't go right, these men hurt you, well, don't make the men that are now showing interest suffer for that. Or you go totally scorched earth and then you just speak ill of men all the time. So no man, there are no good men out there. They're all taken. They're all with other men. It's amazing the things that people will put in their head when they are hurt from a previous relationship. It's like the Hurt Olympics. So you want to make sure that your bad decisions doesn't turn into all men. You're setting yourself up for failure with that. But this is what men want. Men also want women that have no problem of hearing the truth. And this is important because, again, in what we're looking at today, there are many, 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 many women that are out there bashing the men. There are women who want you to believe that they've got it all together and that far be it from another man to tell me how to live life, run a business. Which is strange in of itself, but they want to make sure that if there's a discussion and you draw points of things that you feel he needs to work on, and then it's his turn and you're asking for the truth, make sure that you listen and you address it accordingly. Very, very important. You hear it. Don't get defensive. And ask him how and why he came to this conclusion. There is so much to an exceptional relationship, but I will say one of them that's important is that you never stop asking questions. Now, yes, there are times when trust is going to play a huge part in this. It's be brought to the forefront. So if he shines a spotlight in a respectful way on things that he feels he needs to share or address with you or what he would like from you, that if you're asking him for pointers or advice, you make sure that you're ready to hear that. Because men will have no problem of letting you know what they feel you need to address. So now this is a beginner's list. And I think it's important that it's covered. I think it's important that you go over things because it's very easy. Men have spoken to me and they said, Ron, it's very easy for women to get so wrapped up, expressing it's all about them, it's all about them, it's all about them, and never take into consideration the feeling of that man or the journey he's went to get to the space where you're now about to jump the broom or exchange wedding vows. So take this list and just really think about it. Critical thinking, some emotional intelligence. Some of those may be for you, some of those may not be for you. If you're in a situation where you have just started to see a man in the first date, again, ask him what he wants. There's nothing wrong with that, ladies, and it's free. So, what do you think? Did I cover enough? Do you feel that I should cover more? Trust me, there's many more podcasts to go. So I can assure you that moving forward, things and questions that you may have will be addressed. But if in the spirit that you want to hear it sooner, then of course reach out to me. But what do men want is important. Because in the end, when I've listened to all of these men, if there was one thing that stood out the most to me, well, maybe I should save that for another time, but no, I won't do that. The number one thing men want is they want to be heard. Very, very important. No matter how it's said, and trust me, ladies, it's said 500 million different ways. But that is the one takeaway I got from speaking to all these incredible men. They want to be heard. And as much as there'll be women who say they aren't, they are being heard, well then, maybe there's something wrong in the matrix. Because there's a surprising number of men that don't feel they are. I hope this was something that got the wheels turning. I hope this inspired you to move forward in asking, processing what I've shared in terms of what a man wants. So, as we go into the ending of this year and into a new one, I want to let you all know that I thank you for your support. I thank you for the questions. I thank of many of you reaching out. This is very, very important to me. I also want to let you know that there'll be another podcast again on top with this, known as Black Intimacy Matters. And I'll go into more detail in terms of that later. But for now, wherever you are during this Christmas season, I wish you well and the best for you and your family, because of course, we all know that this year we have the unexpected, rain cloud to the situation where we're pretty much limiting ourselves to what we're trying to do and accomplish. In the end, though, the strong will rise up. So I want to make this clear that I thank all of the men that I spoke to. Thank you for your time. I know you gentlemen are busy, and I couldn't have done this without you. I also once again want to thank Diana Joseph and the Balance with Diana J show on YouTube. A great show. And her sponsorship for this series of the Results with Ronnie podcasts. So again, be safe, be happy. You can reach this podcast by going to Results with Ronnie Radio on YouTube. I'll play snippets of it on Instagram at Official Ronnie Walker. And you can always sign in to check me out on Facebook. So again, thank you for the support because a lot of this is not as easy as it looks. But what I will say is that it's worth it. I get calls of support. I get calls on how couples have used certain spaces and certain things that I've shared that redirected them. And now they're doing great. They're feeling great. They're meeting more men and women they thought possible. Thank you for your support. So, in closing, my name is Ronnie Walker, Master Coach of Exceptional Relationships and Sex. I thank you once again for tuning in to the Results with Ronnie podcast series. Have a very happy holidays, New Year. Make sure you finish out this year strong, super strong, or just sliding on into the 2021 into the new year. I appreciate you all. Have a good evening, and I will talk to you soon on the next podcast series. Ronnie Walker, Results of Ronnie. Oh, how could I forget? You're going to go to MrRelationshipMan.com, ResultsWithRonnie.com, and there you can book your consultations. You can book your coaching. I now added links dealing with men's sexual health. This is something else that I'm also going to cover, but this will be on the new podcast, Black Intimacy Matters. So many women have been coming to me and dealing with the sexual wellness of their man. So on my Results with Ronnie page, go to the tab where it says More, and you'll see a drop-down menu, and from there are some things that have been proven to help men in that space. Because there's one thing I knew men do want and never want to give up on, is their stamina with the person they're sharing their space with, their life with. And so you want to make sure that you're in the right frame of mind. Your body is also in alignment with doing what needs to be done. So take care of your body. And I provided some links to some very good products that I know will help you. So in closing, thank you again. Keeping you guys in prayer and focus that you still find the person that you're looking for, because I do believe they're out there. Happy holidays. Happy New Year if I don't hear from you before then. My name is Ronnie Walker, Results with Ronnie podcast series. Until again, take care.